Hi, my name is Andy Newbury. I am a teacher at Lompoc High School. I teach digital photography and yearbook, and I'm creating a series of videos for my students to explain what it is to be a professional photographer. Today I'm meeting with Mr. Michael Collins, the owner of Collins Photography.
Hi, welcome to my studio. Come on inside. This is home sweet home for my photography business. Hi, I'm Michael Collins and I'm the owner of Collins Photography here in Lompoc, California. And I have been a professional photographer since 1995. So I've been doing it for almost 20 years and I love photography and that's what makes it the best part.
So how did you get started in photography?
My baby. I got started in photography when I was 5 years old. My parents gave me a camera for my birthday, this one, and I started playing. I've been taking pictures most of my life, took a high school photography class. And then almost 20 years ago, as I'm taking pictures of people, they were comparing me to another photographer in town, saying that I was as good as this person. I only used one light at the time that I had purchased, and people kept asking me more and more to shoot their pictures, and this is back in the day of film when it cost money. So finally I said, okay, you're gonna have to pay for my film and the cost of the printing. And then it just exploded from there, where I started making money and started charging more for my time. I run a studio out of my home, and it's not your average studio. It's actually a room inside the house that's dedicated just for photography.
So the business model that you've chosen is working out of your home. What are the advantages and disadvantages of having a home studio, say, versus a brick and mortar business?
Some of the advantages working out of my home is I can set my business hours by appointment only, so I don't have to man the studio 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. The cost of the business is a little bit less because I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to pay myself rent. Electricity I have to pay, all the other things I have to pay as well. So it does cost you money to run the studio out of your home. Some of the disadvantages are people don't take you as seriously when you're working out of your home versus a brick and mortar or a storefront. I know sometimes they'll choose a photographer just based on having a storefront studio versus a home studio, not looking at the photographs that are created out of the studio environment. They don't want to take you as serious because you're working out of your home. Okay, this is the camera I use. My primary camera is a Nikon D800. I use it mainly because, number one, I like Nikon, and number two, it has a high pixel rating. It's 36 megapixels, so I can shoot and not have to crop in really tight to get a tight fit on everything. On top of the camera, we have a Pocket Wizard, which is a wireless system for firing the flashes, so I don't have to have cables connected to all my flashes. I also have a backup Nikon D800. One of the things being a professional photographer, you have to be prepared for something that's going to go bad. You know at some point your camera's going to lock up on you and you're going to have to break out your backup camera and make sure that you have it running at all times. You'll notice that my camera is sitting on a tripod. A tripod is extremely important, especially if you're using long lenses or long exposures. The best reason for using a tripod is a clear, crystal clear, sharp image. If you're hand holding and doing less than a 60th of a second, your images are going to be very soft focused and even blurry at points. Unlike outdoors, in the studio you have to have light. Window light is good to a point, but you're very limited. Here I have a huge 4x6 softbox. Why do I use this 4x6 softbox? It makes the light a lot nicer on people. If you have a harsh light, you get a lot harsher shadows. If you have a smaller light, if you have a larger light source, such as the 4x6 softbox, the shadows are softer and you make people look a whole lot better. Okay, over on this side we also have what's called a strip light. It's a 10 by 36, 10 inch by 36 inch strip light. I use it for a variety of things. One, I can use it for lighting up my background, or two, I can put what I call accent light on people from the side or from behind, and it creates sculpture of the face. One of the things about being a professional is being able to create light and make people look their best. The sculpturing of light, especially on athletes, can make them look buffed and bring out the jawline and the abs and make them just look really fantastic. Up above me, you see that we have a hair light. Obviously, I don't need a hair light. In fact, if I have somebody that's follically challenged like me, I don't use a hair light. But when you have women and people with a lot of hair in the studio, it gets some separation from them and the background. So a hair light is very important. And last but not least in my studio, I have what's called a fill light. It adds just a little bit of light to the shadow side of the face that's not filled in by the 4x6 softbox. This will add in just a little bit of light to accent the cheekbones so you can see the cheekbones and also see the eyes, because the eyes are extremely important in a photograph. Another tool in my arsenal is the reflector. Here I have a 3-foot reflector. If you bought it at a car store, it's $2.99. You buy it at a photography store, it's going to cost you anywhere from $75 to $100 just because they add on extra. The good thing for using this is you can add light to the face. When you're outdoors and there's a harsh shadow on the side of the face, you just take this and just add just a kiss of light. You don't blast the people in the eyes with it, but just a kiss of light to add a little bit of texture to the face and a little extra light there. And backgrounds are important. Here I have an interesting background. It's a brick wall. But when you really stop and think about it, how many people are going to take 1,000 bricks and put them up on your wall? Because you can't take them down. However, on this side, right here, you can see that the brick wall is actually made out of rubber. So I can have a good background and be able to take it down when I need to add a different background on the wall. And when you see all the modeling agencies, you see the white background. Well, what we have is a white background that rolls down out of the ceiling. This is where the 2 strip lights come in handy in lighting the background, because you can light the full thing and have a perfectly white background all the way across, which is good for a couple of reasons. One is high-key look. You got a white background, it's really pretty. And then also if you want to photograph somebody with a white background or turn it gray by not adding light to it, you can extract them off of there in Photoshop and put them into another photograph, such as a football player putting them inside the stadium even though you shot them inside the studio. On my computer you'll see an image of Sabri. He was actually photographed in the studio with the white background. We extracted him from the background and put the stadium behind him. One of the things I like photographing is high school seniors, and doing something different for them makes it kind of fun and challenging for me. On my computer, I own a Mac computer. I've owned a Mac for about 5 years now, changed over from PC. The change was a little bit challenging, but I've adapted to it. I have some software on my computer that I use almost daily. QuickBooks for running the business, for maintaining my record keeping. And then also, probably the biggest program I use all the time is Photoshop and Bridge. Photoshop's not used just for manipulations and things like that, but I also use it for retouching photographs. I primarily shoot a lot of high school seniors, and the skin quality on a lot of seniors is not perfect, so we have to remove acne and make them look good. Photoshop is really easy for doing that, but it's also good for doing manipulations and doing some very artistic kind of things.
You mentioned that you like to take pictures of seniors, do senior portraits, and of course that's a really big part of what your book is all about, is getting professionally done senior portraits. Can you give me an idea, give the students an idea of what is involved from your point of view? What they experience is the time spent in the studio, so if you could tell me what's all involved from the professional point of view. Also, what would you like the students to bring with them or come prepared so that when they're in the studio, they're making the best of studio time?
With high school seniors, you not only shoot the studio, but you also shoot outdoors as well. I really enjoy doing both. The challenge of shooting outdoors is you have to find the good light for the kids. What's involved with a session begins at the very beginning with the student getting ready for the senior portraits, whether they're doing their makeup or the guy is shaving or making sure they look good, picking out their clothes that match. Because sometimes clothing just doesn't work. When you have big, bright, bold colors, you see the colors, but you don't see the face. And for the seniors, you want to be able to see their face and make them look good. Once you get on to the scene of where you're shooting, what kind of things do they want to bring? They want to bring a couple of changes of clothes. They also want to bring something that's important to them, such as musicians bringing their musical instrument, football players bring a uniform or football gear, basketball, baseball, etc. Okay, for an example of somebody that brought something that was important to them, we have a baseball player that brought his baseball bat and posed him in the studio with just a plain black background. So he stands out, but yet he's gorgeous. I mean, the lighting on him is perfect, and you make him look good. And that's part of being a professional, is being able to make somebody look good.
And you won an award for that picture?
Yes, I won an award for that picture. It went lone at the Professional Photographers of America International Print Competition, which is the highest award you can get in PPA. One of the most common questions is, how many pictures or photographs do you take during a session? And with me, I photograph till I get bored. If we're working well together, I've shot upwards of 350 images. I don't know why I do that, because it just creates more work on me. For the average, it's 75 to 100 images. And then from there, the student will get a portfolio with anywhere from 30 to 35 images to look through and pick out which ones they like to order. And what I do is I place them inside of a proof album. Actually, I do a couple of proof albums to go home with the students, and they take them home, fight over them for a week, show them to their friends, and go from there. There's also a few extras that go in when they take them home with them, because we shoot so many images. If I gave them the full 75 to 100 images, they would be totally overwhelmed. That's why I try to cut it down to about 30.
So why should students and their parents hire a professional photographer when they could just do a selfie for their senior portrait?
There's a variety of reasons. Number one, The average person, when they shoot a selfie, starts to look down. And when they do that, they get the double chin. And they can't understand why they don't look their best. With a professional photographer, you have somebody that's trained in how to take photographs, how to make somebody look good. Use all 5 planes of the face to interpret where the light needs to be to make you look your best. There are times when I, as a professional, can either light you from this side and make you look really big, or light you from this side and make you look really slim. Those are the choices I make when I take photographs. Professionals actually go to school on a regular basis to maintain their proficiency and do continuing education so that they can stay up with current trends and also learn new techniques for making you look your best. Another reason for going to a professional is they use a professional lab. You can take them to discount stores to have your work printed, and it's going to be okay. But if you want it done right, so where the color comes out perfect every time, you want to use a professional that uses a professional lab. I personally do not print my own work because it would take me a week to get the color exactly right, and it also take me 3 little vials of ink, which would cost me about $200 just to get one picture right. With my lab, I send it to them, they print it, they FedEx it back to me, and the work is done correctly every single time. And if I'm not happy with it, I send it back to them, and they do it again until they get it right.
You mentioned your education and training and the continuing education that you go through even today after many, many years as a professional. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
No. When I first started photography as a professional, I had just been shooting and shooting and shooting. I hadn't really had any formal training in that area. I'd done some studying in high school and also a little bit in the Air Force. When I became a professional, I started really educating myself. I attend a school each summer in San Diego. It's at the University of San Diego. It's called West Coast School of Professional Photography, and I take classes there every year. I also attend conventions every year, normally 2 a year, one at the national level and one at our state level, learning how to be a photographer, learning different techniques. I also belong to a couple of organizations, Professional Photographers of America, Professional Photographers of California, and the Gold Coast Professional Photographers Association, which is a local association of professional photographers to get together and work together, have speakers every month, and a great learning experience.
So what kind of awards have you won, and really what type of personal satisfaction do you get from being a professional photographer?
Okay, as far as the awards I've won just about all the awards you can win in the Professional Photographers of California, plus a lot of them in the Professional Photographers of America. I've won the People's Choice Award, the President's Award, Photographer of the Year, and a whole lot of other things, not only from photography, from also I also like to teach and give back to the profession as well. So I've gotten a couple awards for teaching and really enjoy doing that as well. You're asking about the satisfaction I get from photography. There's so many realms that this touches on. I love photography. It's still magic to me when it appears on the back of the camera, unlike in the days of film when you had to wait for the film to be developed or develop it yourself. You get instant gratification and satisfaction. I also like shooting high school seniors, or people especially, because you get the satisfaction of seeing them happy at what you do. If I can make mom cry because her son or daughter is now grown up and she's realizing that, I'm ecstatic. I almost want to cry with her because it's just that much emotion is put into my photographs.
What kind of stresses and challenges does running your own business present?
There's a long list of stresses and challenges. Probably the biggest one is to make sure you deal with the IRS and deal with the Board of Equalization in a fair manner, do everything proper. That's the biggest thing. Also, the biggest thing is stress. I worry about losing photographs. I've had a computer crash on me before, and it's scary. So my biggest advice to an upcoming photographer is to back everything up. As you can see, I have 3 backup hard drives here, along with what goes on my computer. I also have a backup hard drive that is stored off-site at a relative's location, so that should something happen to these, I have something that's off-site in the event of a fire or earthquake. I know that the photographs are going to be stored somewhere. I know that the biggest thing that people stress when they have to evacuate their homes due to a fire or earthquake, they grab their photographs. So you got to make sure that you store them no matter what, because they're the most important thing in a lot of people's minds, because it's history and everybody wants to document history.
You don't do weddings, do you?
Well, I can't say that I don't do weddings. My minimum wedding package starts at $30,000, and the first person to ask me for another one is going to go up to $40,000. I've done 5. Each wedding has been 95 degrees or above while we're shooting them, and it's just too stressful for me. If I lose a wedding, lose a picture, I can't recreate it. Whereas if I'm doing a family or a high school senior, if I mess up, come on back in, we'll redo it. I'll give you a free 8x10 for my mistake.
Do you ever hire assistants? And if you do, what's the skill sets that you're looking for in the best applicants?
I do hire assistants on occasions. Most of the time it's not for photography, it's more for when I do big dances and things like that. I'll hire people to be my front desk person, take in the paperwork, greet the clients as they come in before I photograph and pose them. Probably the biggest thing I'm looking for in an assistant that I hire on something like that would be somebody that's good with people, good people skills, customer service, and also able to follow instructions on properly filling out my forms like I want them filled out. I think the biggest thing though is customer service. You've got to be cheerful and you've got to be outgoing.
What advice would you have for a high school senior who is interested in becoming a professional photographer?
My biggest advice is wait 10 years till I'm retired. Then you can start becoming a photographer. Realistically, I would say learn your craft, learn how the camera works so it's automatic, it's in your hand, you know what you're doing. Learn light, because photography is all about the light. Once you know that, anything you do is just a matter of focusing the camera and having things correctly done. People skills, if you're photographing people, you got to have people skills. If you go to a grumpy photographer, you're not going to get the smiles that you want. So be a happy person and enjoy life. Another thing I would encourage a new photographer to do is get involved in a professional organization. There you have a lot of help, you have a lot of mentors that can help you learn, and when you need something, you call them and say, hey, I got a problem, can you help me? And that's probably the biggest reason I belong to a professional organization.
You did mention them before. Could you mention them one more time, the ones that you would recommend?
I belong to, locally, the Gold Coast Professional Photographers Association, and you can join as a student if you like. The Professional Photographers of California, you can join as a student if you like. And then also the Professional Photographers of America.
Mr. Collins, thank you for your time and for all of your information. I hope that it's going to be useful for my students. I know it's useful for me. And thanks again.
It's been my pleasure talking with you, and I hope your students learn a lot. And my advice to the students from here is take a whole lot of pictures. Take pictures, take pictures, take pictures, take pictures, because that's the best way to learn.